Hey everyone, Harry here, Friday afternoon to talk about the imminent deadline for Donald Trump to post a 450 plus and growing by $119,000 or so by the day bond growing out of his loss in the A.G. James fraud case in New York. Okay, what a tangled web. All bad choices for Trump, but there are a few of them. Let's try to, I think the best way to proceed is by the sort of different categories of what he could do, maybe by the least likely and least attractive. So there's been a lot of talk. Would he actually file for bankruptcy, which his company has done half a dozen times in the past? I see that as bottom of the barrel and very unlikely. First, it actually doesn't avail him all that much because there's only so much, there's real limitation for federal bankruptcies relief in terms of state judgments. Buys him a little time, but not a lot of time. And I think politically catastrophic for the so-called, big shot successful businessman. So I would put that kind of dead last. Next to that is a choice that a lot of people are assuming is just going to happen one way or another. And that is that he comes up empty on Monday, or at least not full enough, not without the money, and empowers New York AG Tish James to have at his empire. Okay, I see that as obviously if there's no other choice, and we'll get to what the other choices could be, he would do it. But I think it's very unlikely, the second least likely, notwithstanding supposition in the press of, this would permit him to play the martyr, and he'd love to be able to say here, she's taken his money. And it would be, he's being so unfairly treated and he can't wage a proper political campaign and the like. I just think his brand, so built in, to its DNA of being a winner, just won't permit that. He would, gnaw off a finger or whatever before he would let the AG from New York, whom he reviles, come and do the metaphoric equivalent of putting a padlock on 40 Wall Street or Trump Tower or Seven Springs or the like. And by the way, a quick note on that: don't expect to see any kind of padlock. Every sort of property here is deeply encumbered already. For example, on 40 Wall Street, she would be second in line because of a very strong mortgage. So what would happen is papers in court, not a press conference and the, carting away of furniture and the like. Okay. I don't see it. I think, he would do anything to avoid it. All right. So that means his coming up in one fashion or another. Here's one fashion that people have been talking about. Oh, and to set the table, you have at the same time as his lawyers are representing to the court, the New York Court of Appeal, that he doesn't possibly have the money to do it, and it's a practical impossibility. He tweets out today, or Truth Socials out today, that he has the money on hand, which is among other things, another entry in the long ledger of why Donald Trump is the worst client of all time. How'd you like to be the lawyer right in front of the court making this claim when your client says the exact opposite? And in any event, it certainly is not going to make the court be solicitous. But still, if the court doesn't grant relief, now we're back to, and that's, by the way, the very first option. He still has this motion pending. Maybe the appellate division, which is considered a pro-business court, reduces the bond, gives him more time, or whatever. But we're talking about if that kind of miraculous or, kind of fantastic, like a comet coming in from afar sort of solution doesn't happen. What are his options? Okay, so how does he come up with a check for 460 or so million come Monday? One worrying possibility is he gets someone to basically guarantee it. Who would that be? U.S. billionaire? One possibility. They're not going to, a billionaire, say, who concludes that Trump's got a decent chance of winning the presidency, and then he would effectively own him. And of course, there's the rub for Americans is, that person would have clear outsized influence and Trump no scruples to prevent it. And so that's a worry. Even bigger along those lines would be, and this has sort of been subject to speculation, he gets some like Russian oligarch or Saudi person or whatever to guarantee the money. They don't have to write the check, but they have to guarantee and take the risk that if Trump loses and he can't cough it up, that they're on the hook for it. I'll just say, as to all of them, nobody's going to do it for free to be nice to Donald Trump, but for what it could avail them. And all of those scenarios, even more if it's a foreigner, are worrisome for us as Americans if he wins the presidency and is so beholden to either a domestic billionaire or, even worse, a foreign one. Now, the very worst scenarios of, say, a Russian oligarch, we have to think about the sanctions. He can't, there are laws in place that prevent him from doing business with some Russian folks and the like. He can't violate those. He's not going to be able, in terms there. I see no legal impediment for his getting the money from anywhere, but we're going to know it. And, so he can't do it, as to prohibited, sources. It would be the same as, getting it from a drug lord, or it would just be a violation that the court wouldn't recognize. So it'd have to be the right kind of benevolent billionaire. Okay, so that's one kind of last minute salvation. What else? You're hearing a lot about Truth Social now. He's got his company that is not publicly traded yet, but will be as of Monday, because it's merging with another basically shell company. And it's been valued, and this is something that the private folks can do. It's just his board and his cronies at $5 billion, and he owns 60% of the stock. So all of a sudden, on paper, maybe he's $3 billion richer, but that's not enough. That doesn't permit him to just write a check for that money. There's a lot of restrictions for when he can actually touch it and how much he can and the like. Some of those can be waived by his very, very friendly board. But even so, the general point is, even if he has on paper stock that somehow is supposedly evaluated at $3 billion, that won't do it. He's going to have to be able to use that to get the friendly billionaire or whoever it is or the Chubb company to accept that and use and say, based on that, we will forward the huge bond. So it's by no means so easy, even though he does have a very willing board to do stuff. So, what else can he do? Possibly he asserts, of course, that he has the cash already. So let me just say that's either a lie, or if it's true, and it might be, it's like everything. It's accounts receivables and pencils and furniture and the whole deal. So if that's what he winds up putting up, basically it brings his business to a screeching halt. You can't, day to day run a business where everything has been so completely, every property, et cetera, has been so completely rated as that. So that, all of these, he's in a world of hurt for, and this one, again, it's all, which is worse and worse and worse still and worst. But this one, I think, if he's not lying about it, would be catastrophic to him as a business. And then finally, perhaps he can try to, if it's the case, it seems to be on paper, but it's hard to know with him, that his commercial real estate empire well exceeds the 500 million he can try, but it'd be a fire sale, as he says, to sell off some stuff or to use it to get people to accept collateral. And the virtue there would be his choosing, the easiest, maybe accounts receivable for the business and certain less prestigious properties. But that I think he would do, even if it totally cripples him in the business, before he would do, and now back to the second choice, before he would let Tish James have her pick. And that's what would happen. And I think there's every reason to think, given the way he's treated her and the sort of war of words, that she would go for, and he has to at least assume this, for something pretty prestigious, a real, jewel in the crown for him. And so he really, 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 really would like to avoid that. My best guess, I've said on TV, and I hold to it, bankruptcy we can forget about. And, it's so the last choice, letting Tish James just, among other things, by the way, it plays him as a big loser. So I think it's so the last choice that if that's what happens, it would be everything else fails. So I think we can expect one way or another, at great pain or maybe great risk for the American people, some way. That's if he doesn't get the, gift from another universe of the appellate division cutting him a break. We can expect him one way or another, and the ways are all bad for him to post the money come Monday. We'll find out about it. It won't be pretty for him, probably for us, if he were ever to become president and the like. But that's how I sort of see the very, very, very tricky minefield landscape that's in front of him, and in some ways us, for the next 3 days. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.